Hey, what's up, troop? I'm Michael Bennett. I'm an Army combat veteran. I took an oath to this country once, and I still take that extremely seriously. Over the past 2 decades, trillions of U.S. taxpayer dollars have been diverted towards endeavors that provide little to no direct benefit to the average American. Instead of funding housing, healthcare, or any economic security here at home, vast sums have flowed into wars, defense contracts, foreign aid, corporate subsidies, and political black holes. Most of our politicians are millionaires right now, and that is a problem. This series is called Public Servants' Private Fortunes. We're going to follow the money that flows through our government. Because if we want to understand the priorities of this country, we need to stop listening to what's being said and start looking at what's being funded. Every 4 years, we're held hostage by the same things: healthcare, housing, education, hunger, homelessness. Our politicians act like they're doing all that they can, but if it just wasn't for the other side. But when do we stop pretending like all the money to fix every problem in this nation isn't already here? Because in America, what does get funded tells you exactly what and who matters. This is our first episode, The Rise of the American Oligarchy. We were warned that power once concentrated rarely releases its grip willingly. We were warned that a nation founded in resistance could one day forget the reason that it was born. And we were warned again and again that liberty is not lost all at once, but piece by piece while the public is distracted. This is not about left or right. It's not written in the defense of one party or in the attack of another. It's written in the defense of the people themselves and an accusation of a system that no longer answers to them. An oligarchy is not simply the existence of wealthy individuals. Every society has had rich men and women. An oligarchy forms when wealth becomes power, and power writes the rules to protect the wealth. When laws respond upward instead of outward, when the public may vote but the outcomes remain unchanged no matter who wins. America still holds elections, that's true, but elections are not the same thing as control. For much of this nation's life, political influence was imperfect, but it was broadly distributed. Labor unions counterbalanced corporations, antitrust laws restrained monopolies. A single donation could not buy access. A single industry could not write its own oversight. That balance did not collapse overnight. It was dismantled slowly by many small decisions layered up over decades. We did not wake up one morning under some oligarchy. We were walked into it with smiles on. There was a time when the American middle class expanded, not by accident, but by policy choices. We had strong labor protections, progressive taxation, limits on consolidation. We had public investment in infrastructure and education. The power in this country was not perfect, but it was spread. Then somewhere along the way, the rules started changing. Political campaigns became expensive, media became centralized, lobbying in this country became big business. Political careers became lucrative and increasingly intertwined with corporate interests. The revolving door between public office and private profit stopped being an exception and started becoming the expectation. Money found its way into every crack of governance, and where the money flows, influence follows. Study after study, examining thousands of federal policy outcomes, has reached the exact same conclusions. When the preferences of average citizens conflict with those of wealthy donors or organized business interests, the public almost always loses. Not sometimes, almost always. Statistically speaking, the influence of ordinary Americans approaches almost zero when it matters most to things in this country. Today, incentives have replaced intent. Survival in politics now depends less on representation and way more on fundraising. Access is filtered by contribution. How many Americans are attending $10,000 plate dinners? And policy expertise is often supplied by the very industries that are being regulated. The system no longer requires corruption, it produces it naturally. As wealth concentrates, so does political leverage. That leverage reshapes everything. Tax codes, our regulatory frameworks, defense contracts, healthcare markets, the housing policy, our trade rules. Those changes accelerate wealth concentration even further, and the cycle keeps tightening. Rinse, repeat every 4 years. This is how oligarchies form. Not through a coup, not through tanks in the streets, but through feedback loops, layered up over time. And the consequences are everywhere. Housing did not become unaffordable because we ran out of land or homes, but because shelter was turned into an asset first and a human necessity second. Healthcare did not become incomprehensible by accident, but because profit extraction dictates access. Endless war does not continue because peace is unattainable. It's because conflict feeds into a system that rewards it with money and influence. The public can feel the pressure, but we're told that the cause is cultural. We're told to argue among ourselves among everything except what actually matters. All in the meantime, the machinery is humming in the background. This is not an accident. Division is insulation. When we the people are busy fighting each other, power consolidates and grows unchecked. Voting remains essential, but voting alone cannot correct a system where both paths are financially gated. When donors fund both sides of the aisle becomes nothing but a theater. When the legislation is already pre-written by the lobbyists, all the debate is just a performance. How can fairness exist when oversight committees are populated by the people that are funded by the very industries that they oversee? How does that make any sense? Accountability it's cosmetic at this point. This isn't just straight tyranny, it's the normalization of purchased influence. And it's bipartisan, it's both sides. We have two wings of the same bird. Different parties, same donors, different rhetorics, it's the same outcomes. That's why this outrage without any direction accomplishes nothing. Anger must be aimed. Patriotism must be informed. We need to stop yelling at each other and yelling where it matters. The resistance must be structured. The purpose of this is not to convince you that America is irredeemable. It's to remind you that self-government is not self-sustaining. It must be defended not only from foreign threats, but also from internal decay. Our founders did not imagine a perfect system, they imagined a fragile one that must be protected. They knew that power would seek permanence. They assumed that the citizens would push back. What they could not assume was a system where corruption no longer looked corrupt. The influence is legal. This is all disclosed, it's normalized. It's defended as just free speech. It's where a politician can grow wealthy in office while claiming innocence because the rules allow it. Rules can be written to protect the public or to protect those who write them. This series exists to document how those rules function in practice. Personal wealth, campaign donors, PAC dependents, voting behavior, committee assignments, financial alignment, it's all there. It's not to shame individuals, it's to expose the patterns that we have going on in this country. When public servants become private beneficiaries, the public deserves to know. If this angers you, it should. Not because it attacks your party. By now you should see that it's two wings of the same bird. It should anger you because it challenges your assumptions. You assume that the government is working for you. This asks whether freedom can survive when the influence is for sale. Every generation inherits a republic on loan. Ours has inherited a choice right now. Do we continue mistaking arguments over scraps for participation, or do we reclaim oversight of our nation as a civic duty? The American oligarchy did not announce itself. It doesn't wear a crown, it does not demand any obedience. It just asks for silence. This is a refusal.
Hey Troop, if this matters to you, stay with us. Follow Charlie Victor Bet on YouTube and TikTok as we continue uncovering where the money flows and who it truly serves in this country. Charlie Victor, we've got your six.